So when I'm not streaming bad video games on the internet, I am the curator of this museum. My name is Mike. I'm with my boss, who's the executive director, Mary. Hello.
Hello.
Hearing our own voices come back at us.
Yeah, we got some feedback going on.
It's not feedback. It's just I had something not muted.
Ah.
It's proof that the thing works. Like, that's positive. The last time we streamed, we didn't have the volume loud enough, so no one heard us. So we streamed that entire Nancy Drew video game, and no one heard any of it.
Oh no.
Whatever.
That's not good.
You're learning stuff.
Learn as you go.
So that's why everything is way louder today.
So are we on Facebook or YouTube?
We're on YouTube.
Ah.
Facebook doesn't have anywhere near the tools to stream things out that look any good.
Okay.
YouTube is way better.
And we're live on YouTube.
Yes. In fact, mic volume much better this time. See? That's why you have people in chat to tell you when they can hear you.
Oh, do we have people following us?
One person.
Yay.
Whatever.
Welcome.
This thing will get archived so we can continue to look at it. I'm in the squeakiest chair in the world. I feel like Mackenzie warned me about this before she left. Mackenzie's on assignment now. So if you hear the chair in the background, sorry. Also, if you hear the jet engine fans on my MacBook, I'm concerned that it's going to melt through the table here. But we don't have a dedicated streaming computer. One of these two computers down here in the library probably would be powerful enough if we ever plugged it in. I feel like this one is probably okay.
You guys know more about that than me.
Anyway, we're going to give you about a half an hour tour of the building today. Stress test it, see how it works. See if we can identify some gaps, because we've got some pretty cool opportunities lined up. The Girl Scouts of Michigan want to start doing some of this stuff with us.
Yes.
And I would rather break it when there's no punishment for breaking it.
Yeah, when we
There's
don't
no
have
stakes.
Multiple young people watching and being disappointed that,
that we don't
halfway
know.
through
We don't know how
we're
the
having
internet works.
problems.
Yeah. So I'm holding my mic because I am pretty certain that the act of moving my mouse and clicking is going to show up on your mic on the table. We are running a mixer, so part of it is just playing around with that. So, all right, so if you can see what I'm doing with my mouse here, I'm going to start dragging you around the building a little bit. And we're going to start in the lobby. So we're going to run right down the hallway here. And kind of put ourselves here in the center of this room. Because when I give real tours, this is typically where I start them. And there's a lot of cool stuff in this room to check out. I don't recall what day this picture was taken. I think it was like a June day.
Yeah.
It was summer of 2019.
It was summer.
So this room is slightly different than today than it is then, but that's going to happen with basically every room in this place. Because we're always changing something about it. But anyway, this is the lobby of Durand Union Station. And Durand Union Station was built in 1903 for the Grand Trunk Western and Ann Arbor Railroads. And it burnt down in 1905, in April of 1905. And then they rebuilt it from the same blueprints in 5 months. It burnt down in April, and they had it open again in September. So this is our station. It is largely in the center of Michigan. Not dead center. That would probably be about Lansing-ish. But it is the crossroads of two major rail lines, both of which are owned by Canadian National today, but were part of the Grand Trunk system when this place was built. The railroad came to Durand in 1856. The north-south line was the first one here, starting in Detroit and heading its way toward the west side of the state to run car ferries and get people across the lake without having to go through Chicago, because you could get stopped there for 2 weeks if you had a freight train that was going through Chicago. I don't think that's 100% true today, but it's still pretty long. If you're running freight and it stops in Chicago, you're there for a while.
You're tied up for a while.
Yeah. So why Durand? Because Durand's a small town. The answer is bribery. The people of Vernon Center, which is what Durand was called back then, bribed the railroad surveyor to say that this place was a better location for a rail stop than Vernon or Gaines. Vernon and Gaines both ended up with rail stops, but they didn't get them at the same time that Durand got theirs, and neither of them were ever as big as Durand's ended up being. So
True.
What we've heard is that they raised like $500 in 1856 money, which is some astronomical amount. I can't imagine.
Google, here I come.
I can't imagine that surveyor didn't get caught. Like, what do you do with that much money? You didn't even have cars to blow it on back then.
Yeah. Probably firearms and alcohol.
Yeah.
If our listener was part of the podcast last week.
Yeah.
When we were talking to Beth Wayman, that was a pretty popular thing back in the mid 1800s.
Yeah. Buying weapons well, that's actually kind of popular today, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Buying weapons and getting lit. So this station this came, 50 years after the railroad got here, but in those intervening 50 years, another rail line had come through that was really busy.
Okay, to answer your question,
okay.
$100 in 1850 would be worth $3,305 today. So
30
3,000
times more often.
Yeah. 3,305
times
5. So you're talking $16,500. That's a lot of money.
That's good bribery.
That is good bribery, yes.
Yeah. So in 1876, a second rail line shows up, and it crosses the first line here at Durand, creating the diamond and creating the intersection that lends itself to why Durand suddenly needed a gigantic depot, because two major rail lines were there. Oh, are you gonna take over?
I'm gonna take. I'm
right.
just gonna see how far we can see outside here.
That
would be kind of.
Yeah, you
fun.
might be able to. You might just want to take them outside with that thing.
Oh, can we go out the door?
Yeah.
The front door or the back door?
You might even be able to just like zip it through the window and.
Oop! We just went right through the pillar.
Ran through a post.
So kind of hard to see, but
yeah, like if you get
the diamond,
is click right there.
Out here.
Oh,
no.
Sometimes you'll
outside.
click on windows here, and it'll just take you outside, which is alarming. All right, so the way you can do that is if you click like over here. No, like where I'm pointing on the screen. Right there.
Right there.
And then click like out here somewhere.
Ah.
Yeah. Now we're outside.
Stand outside.
Okay, now we're standing outside. So
cool.
Yeah, take them all the way to the corner there.
So there's your diamond.
Yeah,
the north, south, east, west.
The line that we're looking at, the one that is running like left to right across your field of vision here is a north-south line headed into the yard. That would be the line that would take people from Detroit to Grand Haven. The one that crosses that, and the one that's double tracked today, is the current main line. It runs from Port Huron to Chicago, and it takes you into Canada through the St. Clair Tunnel and all of that. So this intersection here is why they decided they needed a gigantic train station here, because the business at this intersection was so big that they had sort of agreed that this was the place to put it. So the Ann Arbor Railroad and the Grand Trunk Western at the time pooled their resources together and built a humongous station that if you are turning around so you can see show people the front of it, there it is. That's us. But within about 5 years, the Ann Arbor left because the Grand Trunk's business was so big in the area that they were sort of dwarfing Ann Arbor, and Ann Arbor moved north to Owasso.
Really?
So the Ann Arbor was only in the building for like 5 years.
That's why they have a similar but much smaller train depot.
Yeah.
In Owasso.
But their presence was always like they were like, and there was Grand Trunk facilities in Owasso as well, but Durand was the Grand Trunk town and Owasso was the Ann Arbor town.
Okay.
I hear our internal phone ringing. So of course we're live on the internet and now someone's trying to get a hold of us.
And there is a train going
Yeah,
by.
there's a train going by when he came to take this picture.
So let's see. Oh, I probably can't walk in the door, can I?
I don't think not from that angle. You'd have to go all the way to the other side of the building. So, again, this is a stress test for our virtual system. We are giving you a tour, but we are also sort of blatantly messing around with this toy that we've got.
So this is the back sidewalk of the depot.
Yeah.
And no, it will not let me in the door. Well, we'll have to work on that. Ooh.
Did you just like phase through the second floor window? Sweet. Yeah.
So the back sidewalk, we can talk a little bit about.
If you could get yourself back out there.
Out there.
May not be possible.
Right there. There we go. You'll see granite bricks in each of the sidewalk blocks.
You might not be able to get out that door.
Probably not.
Well, if you click there, see if it'll take you out. All right, so turn around and go out the other. Like I know where you're going with this, so we can do it out the other door.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
We will go out the front door.
So this is the entryway. Like if you're walking into the building, this is what you see. We started you in the lobby for other reasons, but okay. So yeah. So now if you look down at the ground, you can see our friendship walk, which we had made in 1984. As a means to get the sidewalk redone, because the sidewalk was completely dilapidated after we took the building over in 1979.
And that was one of the requirements that Grand Trunk had for the city and Durand Union Station Incorporated was to stabilize the sidewalk. So this fundraiser took place for that purpose.
Yeah. So, yep, a lot of family members and friends and all sorts of people are sort of permanently memorialized in our sidewalk. A lot of names that are no longer with us, but they live forever because they're surrounding the building that they've worked so hard to save.
Exactly.
A lot of the people that are in brick here were crucial to the efforts to save this place, which we'll get to. But so let's go back to the Amtrak lobby, since I'm kind of following a spreadsheet here that we're testing out. All right, so we're back here in the lobby, and that's fine. So the clock on the wall. So let's turn around and show them that. Yeah. Right there, that clock that and I think if you scroll with the wheel, you can zoom in on that.
Wow.
Yeah. That clock is from Battle Creek's station. Similar age to ours. It was built in 19...
Trying to get a better angle on it here.
Constructed in 1923. And we know that it is from the early 1920s because it references the Grand Trunk Railway System. The history of the Grand Trunk is that they were the Grand Trunk System until 1901, and then they became the Grand Trunk Railway System because they were still Canadian controlled. And in Canada and in the Commonwealth, railroads are called railways. And then in 1928, when they formally incorporated as an American railroad, they became the Grand Trunk Western Railroad. So because that clock says Grand Trunk Railway System on it, we can date it between 1901 and 1928.
Oh, we can get really close.
Yeah. But that clock is really interesting, and we know where Durand's is, but the guy who has it isn't willing to part with it just yet. I even offered him that one in trade.
Did you?
Yeah. Because I wanted Durand's back home, and he recognizes it, but he's not ready yet. And I was like, it's fine.
Understand.
Just so you know, it is stolen. It's not your clock. You took it from a building that was being abandoned. So anyway, in this room is the most historically accurate room in the entire structure, I would say. Color-wise and all of that. It's definitely like the right color scheme. But this is also the room that gets rented out a lot for weddings. So the ticket cage there is really popular, and people love to get married in front of it.
This room is 40 by 40. For those who can grasp dimensions.
Yeah.
But it is only 40 by 40. I mean, in the day, there were thousands of people that walked through this room
in
to
1920,
get from one train to the next.
Yeah, in 1920, we had 3,000 people in the building a day.
That's a lot.
This is not,
people.
This building looks big, but it is not super huge on the inside. So we've got some more people in chat here that I'm saying hello to. Thank you for checking us out for a little bit. Remember, this will be archived, so you can see it for a little bit and then bounce and come back and watch it later if you want to. Unless we do such a horrible job or the internet like breaks or something that we have to scrub this and try again later. But yeah, so let's show them the ticket cage up close real fast. This ticket cage is original, but it is not the first ticket cage that was in the building. Durand had a bigger one, and if you show them the marks on the floor, you can see the outline of the original ticket cage that they pulled out at some point because the railroad just yanked it out and just swapped it with a smaller one.
Oh, so that staining on the floor is where
the ticket
workers
agent stood.
Would be standing.
Yeah.
And this is where the foundation
of the footing cage. Of the previous cage.
Yeah.
But that's also, you can also see where it would have lined up closer to the wall, why the wall's shaped the way it is. But yeah, so the story there is, as far as we know, they basically saw train stations as interchangeable parts, and a station somewhere else needed a bigger ticket cage for whatever reason. So they found Durand's and took that one because it looked nice, and then they found one that looked like Durand's but smaller and brought that one in. And who knows where this one actually came from. So it is one of the ticket cages that was used when Durand was active as a Grand Trunk facility, but it is not the first one. But they did a pretty good job of finding one that more or less matched the original shape of it.
Yeah, they did.
We've got all sorts of mannequins on display that tend to creep people out. You can take him inside the cage. I forgot that he went in there. So you can walk right in there. This is actually part of the tour that we don't give to people in person, because this ticket cage is rented and controlled by Amtrak. So we don't go in there pretty much ever unless we have to like flip a light switch or fix something. But yeah, so you can kind of see what their situation looks like in here. We are still an Amtrak station. You can get on the train here and go to Chicago or Port Huron. You used to be able to get on the train and go to Toronto, but they've changed that. You can't do that anymore. I think once you get to Port Huron, you have to get on a bus and then go over the crossing, which you can't even do right now. As of today, the Canadian border is closed to Americans for COVID. So
yes, it is.
So even if the train did run, you couldn't get in.
So where are we going next?
Okay, so the next thing, let's take them back down the aisle, the way
hallway.
Here, the hallway, and show them the stairs and the entryway here. And looking at our current chat room, we actually have a gentleman from Canada in here today.
Welcome.
So we have an international friend. So let's show him that safe real fast.
Yeah.
That safe is now on display in the museum room in current times, but when that picture was taken, we would give part of this tour here. This safe came from the car department in Port Huron, and it was locked when we got it. They just brought it over and said, if you can get it open, you can have what's in it. And then they gave us the combination. So the reason that it got retired and sent to us is because the tumblers on it had worn to the point where it wasn't reliable as a working safe anymore. So they replaced it with something else and sent it to us. And my understanding is that it sat here locked for like 10 years because no one could get it open. And then by happenstance, a guy who used to work in the car department walked in and said, "That's my old safe." And we said, "We can't get it open." And he's like, "I think I get it open." So he sat there and he got it open. And there was $70 and some old paperwork in there.
Oh my.
So that's what we got. So he also set it up for us that it can't be locked again. Like you can't close it on yourself. And then we put a head lantern from the 3752 on there. There was not gold inside. No, actual American currency from probably like the 1980s because they were still using it back then. That just showed up. the thing on the wall here above it pertains to the St. Clair River Tunnel, which was the first international tunnel ever built, and not just between the United States and Canada, anywhere in the world. That tunnel was the first one. Also, it's interesting because it was the first tunnel, of course, that was dug underneath a river. The tunnel that's in Detroit is submerged. They built that tunnel first and then dropped it into the water and connected it. This one, they just decided they could go deep enough underneath the river to not worry about it.
So they just bore under the river then.
Yeah. The first one was built in 1892. And then they made another one in 1995 that was bigger because engines got bigger and they couldn't fit as much stuff in the tunnel, in the old tunnel, as the new one. So they made a bigger one. That diagram there came from Grand Trunk's headquarters. And then when they weren't promoting their new tunnel anymore, they gave it to us. Yeah, so that's about as much as I have for this chunk of the building. Let's take them up the stairs. Let's show them the ballroom. Because we're actually running a little bit slow here. But
longer
that's fine.
than what we anticipated. But that's always happens. There's always something to have a conversation about.
Original stairwell. It gets cleaned up and repaired on the regular. Everything in this building requires a huge amount of maintenance.
It does.
It is of no surprise why the railroad decided they didn't want it anymore in 1974. It was probably costing them a fortune in maintenance every year for a building that wasn't being used a whole lot.
So ballroom first?
Yeah, ballroom.
All right.
Because the ballroom's also pretty quick. So this is the upstairs. The second floor is also the least accurate historically because it was torn down to its timber before the building was saved. So this part of the building was all old offices. And when we took the building over in 82, one of the first things we decided we needed to do was figure out a way to continue to pay for it. So this was turned into a ballroom, and Margaret Zadunik paid for the floor.
Yes.
And if you'll look, that's why her name is
she
in the transom window here.
Yep.
This was her idea. So that hardwood floor was her baby, and it got done. She was also our first archivist, and the archive is named after her now. So
as we're going through the building, you'll see these bullet points. And if you go to our website, which is www.durandstation.org, you can walk through the building and click on these flags.
Yep.
And receive audio clips of what you're looking at.
And I'm the voice of that. So if you're not already sick of hearing me, I do that. So we talked about people getting married in here. They love to get married downstairs and then go upstairs and have the party. So I think in non-COVID times, the capacity of this room is like
145.
And that's like cramming them in. That's not a super comfortable 140.
This room is the same footprint as down below in the Amtrak lobby. It is 40 by 40 square feet, and it has the turrets. Yeah. And you can literally look over the railroad tracks as you're... Oh, that's a great picture.
Yeah.
Of the tracks from the east.
So rotate that a little bit so we can see out there.
I'm not sure if I can.
Hover around the camera that's out there at the top. We are part of a system called Railstream, which is online rail fanning. Rail fanning is people who like to watch trains go by or take photos or whatever. We have webcams that are on the outside of the building that point down at the diamond and on the tracks. That's a premium service. If you want to subscribe to that, that's at railstream.net. Mike and Andrea, who run that, are really nice. And Mike was a rail fan as a kid. He would come here from where he lived in Saginaw and hang out with us. So, they're good people, and he wanted Durand to be part of his system for a long time until we had the internet that was good enough to actually do that. So, it's good to be part of that and hang out. And he always sends me text messages when there's like deer and stuff outside, because deer will walk across the tracks in the winter or whatever. So the ballroom, there's some stuff that you just can't see very well from the picture that we have available to show you. One of them is you can see the baggage car and the gate tower.
The caboose.
The caboose. You can see the caboose from here, but there's stuff that's on the other side of town that
I have lost
you can't
the
really
cursor.
get to.
Where is
it's on my side of the screen now, so
Oh.
move it all the way to the right.
There it is. I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see a lot from town here. That's where Farmer's Market is. If you see where that red truck is in the picture in the window, scroll in on that so they can see it.
Farmer's Market meets every Wednesday from 2 to 7 p.m. and they set up on Hagel Street, which is right across the tracks.
And the caboose is open during that time.
Yes,
so
it is.
Scroll to the other window and show them Railroad Street.
The other window. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that might be as close
is
as you can
Railroad
get.
Street.
So the actual physical address of this station is 200 Railroad Street.
I bet you I can get a really good picture of it right here.
And it's it ends right there. It ends at the tracks.
Right
you
there.
Can't get across. There have been some conversations about whether we could ever get that crossing open again for foot traffic, but that's a ways away, and some smarter people than us are actually working on it.
Yes, they are.
But it requires...
It is possible to have a foot, ground level foot crossing right there. So it wouldn't go above the tracks, and it would be gated with crossing
the arms and all that stuff.
Arms on each side, yeah.
But that stuff is expensive, and it requires a lot of cooperation between the city of Durand and Canadian National Railway, who controls that line. They are talking, but we are somewhat along for the ride on that one. We are willing to help them however possible, because that would change our world if we could get some foot traffic across those tracks.
And if that ever becomes the case, the nonprofit would be heavy into the fundraising for it.
Yeah, we would one thing that we are good at around here is raising money for big projects as needed. So if they tell us they're ready for us to start getting behind it, we will be there.
So should we go to the other side of the...
Show them the mural. Something just broke. Oh, hold on. We've lost the internet. I need my mouse back.
Uh-oh.
You were clicking on things that got away from you, and now we've lost our entire screen. Oh, that's way lost, too. Technical difficulties.
So what, it's not broadcasting on YouTube?
No, you literally grabbed the screen that was being broadcast and moved it, and it's gone now. The people who know me know me that I'm screwing around in OBS right now to get the thing back. So there it is.
Go.
But now I need to play around with some other stuff. Please hold.
Well, see, this is why we do test runs of everything.
Part of this is that I did not intend to give up the mouse, so I am going to blame you for that.
I like to...
You commandeered the mouse from me.
Exactly.
Okay, so...
So are you not going to give me the mouse back?
No,
because
we're gonna end this here in a minute. So, all right, so we're gonna go look at the mural, right?
Yes.
What we're gonna do. So I'm gonna bounce over here. So this mural was done by a local doctor from El Salvador,
Yes.
Named Roberto Cañas was his name. He's still around. I believe he is 103 now.
Yes.
If he's not 103 yet, he was born in 1917, so he'll be there. But one heck of an artist, and is responsible for artwork that's basically on display all over town. Sculptor, painter, all sorts of stuff. This was on display in the original museum in town, which is inside an old baggage car. So this was designed for the height of that car. And then after we moved, that thing sort of became storage for a long time. The city owns it now. But this was in there until 2014?
Yeah, 2013, 2014. Wayne Pickford, who used to work, who used to volunteer for us.
Yeah.
We used to store the Christmas trees in the baggage car. And leading up to one Christmas where we were pulling out trees, he noticed the painting on the wall and he said, we need to bring that into the building.
Yeah.
So the following year, he went to work because it's a canvas painting. And it is huge. I mean, back up a bit and you'll see that it spans that entire wall.
Yeah.
Bruce and...
That's an 8-foot table for reference.
Yes,
so
it is.
14 foot long, probably total.
Yep. So Wayne Piffett and Bruce Barrett went to work and took. The canvas was glued to a piece of plywood that was on the wall at the baggage car. So they had to very gently peel it off the plywood and then re-stretch it and frame it. And they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's probably an idealistic account of history in the area. I'm not sure that there was Native American presence in Vernon Center.
I'm sure there was.
Because
there was in North Newburgh.
Yeah, but not in like this. This part of it probably isn't exactly as described. I said idealistic or idealized. But there's a lot of famous sort of scenes here. Like this picture of the depot is incredibly famous, and we'll look at that in a future tour. But like some of it's just showing off how agrarian this place is. Like it's a farming community that is also a railroad community. And one of the reasons that Durand never grew as big as the depot that it has is that the town never had an industry of its own. It had Simplicity, which actually is right here. Simplicity makes gravel screens, but it wasn't an entire city full of gravel screens. When you think of a town that has an industry, you think of Flint that has the automobile, or Detroit that has the automobile, or things like that. Durand doesn't. Durand is just a farming community
with a lot of trains.
That go through it, which means the industry was the railroad, and it didn't build anything. It wasn't like Lima, Ohio, where they made locomotives, or Erie, Pennsylvania, or anything like that. All they did was service the railroad industry. Yeah. So you either worked for the railroad or you worked for someone who worked for the railroad. You didn't build anything in Durand. Maybe some farmers did some amount of shipping goods here and there. Like there was a cattle industry for a while, but Chicago's where cattle go. Like that's the meatpacking industry there. So people, when they come through the building, they often get confused as to why this building is so huge and why Durand is not and has never been that big. And the reason is because the depot was the industry.
Right.
So the town didn't need to grow that much bigger. Everybody who worked for the railroad just came through. So that was it. So this is where we're going to pause the tour for this week. We're going to break it apart and maybe spend a little bit more time on some other stuff upstairs in a future version of this. But this one worked okay. It didn't seem like we had any weird streaming issues.
Just when I took the mouse away and
when you
broke things.
Yeah.
But I think next Friday at 4:00
we'll try again.
And we will show the rest of the second floor.
Yeah. So the other thing that happens around here is that we're really short-staffed. So it's hard for us to find time in the day where you and I can both not be out talking to people. Right? Like it's rare. Like it'd be easy if it was just me doing the tour by myself because I could shut the door and do that. Or if you were just doing something, that would be one thing. But the two of us combined are like the probably, like, if you look at what our organizational chart is, the two positions of note here that are like the biggest are executive director and curator, and that's you and me. So
true. In the age of COVID, we are expanding our horizons and trying to
doing stuff on the internet,
doing more intricate things, and this is one of them.
This whole thing could get shut down at any time. Not the internet part, but this whole building could get closed again. We were closed for 12 weeks in March. So.
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen again.
So, all right. So we're gonna cut stream for this one. If you're not watching us live, if you're seeing us after the fact, say something in the comments or Let us know if you have any questions about something that you haven't seen yet, because the nice thing about doing an online tour that we're going to go back to is that I can answer all your questions later on. That's fine.
Yes.
So, yeah, thanks for checking it out and being part of it and helping me stress test, because this is all weird and we're, weird solutions to weird problems. So.
Well, and watch our Facebook page, Durand Station, Michigan Railroad History Museum.
Yeah, we're at Durand Station on every social media platform.
So watch the Facebook. We'll plan on being back here next Friday.
Yep.
And
I might run a video game between now and then. We'll see. I don't know what my week looks like day to day. I show up and figure out what's on fire and go from there.
And not the building.
Building's not on fire.
No.
We haven't look, we've only set the building on fire once, and it was 115 years ago.
Way before our time.
It wasn't our fault. Our average is getting better every year.
Yes.
So we're going to get on out of here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. So see you later.